Look good, huh? Not bad. I think I've only seen it once. Oh, that's okay. I got to figure out how to get high def in here.
Oh, that's a little tough.
My computer's an old non-high def. I got to get it there.
We love education. We like education.
anything specific that jumps out, that you got questions, concerns about?
Just to be, basically all we're doing is saying, this is where we're at this point in time, and
And we balanced the
Okay.
budget.
And what's
All
done
right.
is done, right?
Then when we make the motion, there's a percentage it needs to, that Curtis will have the ability to transfer, and then there's certain words.
We've got that here included
okay.
in the
I
motion.
was just
for the
going to
budget.
ask if we had it written down.
We do.
Okay. 'Cause I didn't see
Is
them.
there any, is a public hearing? Anyone from the public want to address council?
Entities here.
Everybody lives here except for two. They almost live here. Okay. If there is no other comment, any concerns, questions, we will close the public hearing. And we will move to our city council work session. And then we'll come back to the budget during our regular council meeting. Discussion of test well. I don't know if you've had a chance to really look at it. It's really pretty big.
Well, that's all I had, a picture. I was reading through this and I was trying to draw it, and then I realized on page 3 we had a drawing. It helped.
They did give us, it does, but the only thing that it does is tell us that the static level of water, that's about the only thing that we would probably understand as opposed to clay, gravel. We know what's there, but we don't know how, our expertise doesn't let us understand, what that really translates to.
Well, it
We
means-
know basically in gravel, it's a better option for having the water.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, looking at it, it's pretty clear why the static water level is at about the 300 foot, because you got clay above it, a whole bunch.
yep,
So you get
clay
down-
above and clay below.
Once you hit about 700 and some odd feet, so.
The key is, on this, looking, referring to the picture of all the gravel and cobble layers, you have good filtration, good chance for the water to continue down to the aquifer to be regenerated fairly often. I mean, the clay does create a bit of a barrier, but with all that gravel and cobble and everything in there,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
pretty
you've got some very, very shallow areas of the clay, as opposed to, you can see the cobble and the gravel is mostly what's there.
Yeah, for the most part, you have very small intervals of clay,
And
which
one-
doesn't allow that water to flow through the aquifer a lot better.
One of the issues that was brought out before is if you do have that clay, any heavy materials, oils, that sort of a thing, the clay would have a tendency to keep that from filtering down in
Yeah.
so much, so.
So the question that I have, probably this is more for when we have Craig or somebody come and we go through this a little more in depth. I'd like to see something like this, but representative of the way things are with Howard Well for comparison, just so we have an idea.
That's not bad.
Because if we're going to make a decision based on, I think it would help us to, because by no means am I'm a hydrology expert.
We're still, as far as we know, it's still, basically, they're thinking 700 to 800 gallons per minute is our projected pumping. Well, and what were you saying, that the state, McKay, you were saying that the state sets the amount that you could pump from any aquifer, any level or something?
Yeah, usually they'll allow roughly 2/3 of what
Yeah.
the
Capacity
aquifer
is?
will produce. So if it produces 1,000 gallons a minute, you'll be closer to 700-800
Yeah, we're
gallons in their range, just to ensure that the aquifer is not stripped
Yeah.
and pumped down.
That's the same issue we have with Cloward Well, same issue we
Yeah.
have with the
The
local
water
well.
may be there, the state dictates or allows you to pump a certain percentage, and that's what it is.
And do we know anything about the Lofer well, like you were saying last time? Do we have that information already?
Yeah, that's easy.
The depth, I mean, where the,
Well,
what-
like, would it be,
would it be comparable?
it would be comparable?
That's what we're asking, you're
So-
asking? Would it be?
Well, is that gonna be a better, would that be a smarter investment to make that bigger and pump more out of
No.
that?
Talking developing,
To-
over more.
No,
Yeah.
the Lofer Canyon or the Cloward Well?
No, the one that we found,
The
was not
Lofer-
Lofer Canyon?
No, that one,
No?
the one that
Oh, I made
is,
that up.
that's,
Okay.
no. There are 3 wells that are technically still active, but the one is still in the process of reactivating it. And that's the one we call the Dugway well.
Oh, the Dugway.
The problem at least the geology as they drilled that well, from what we've been told by Craig, doesn't give us as much option. It doesn't look like we don't know how much deeper we'd have to go to finally produce anything close to what we've got in the other 2 wells.
Oh, okay.
Some of the other options we've talked about is still going back up Lofer Canyon or back up here on the, can't think what the term is. I guess doesn't matter. And trying to get some work, another well possibly drilled up there. This still was the recommended choice. Now, one of the concerns, one of the problems we've got with the test well is it says right now they're guessing X number of, but when we actually drill a production well, we went with an 8-inch. And when we do a production, it'll be at least 16. And 16, that doesn't necessarily mean too much, except that it will go down. And if they do hit bedrock, like they've done here, that may be where they have to stop as well. And it won't be exactly right on that side. It could be just a little ways away, within 50 to 100 feet, somewhere in that vicinity is what they normally do. And we could strike gold, we could strike mud. Yeah, we don't know how much shifting is going to change that variable. So, and they can, but to do that, they have to pull out all the old casings. Not that they couldn't do that. I mean, it's kind of a proven spot, but typically within that 100 feet, you're going to have a very similar amount. It could go up, it could go down, it could remain about the same thing.
Now, I think we brought it up before, but when Craig was here, at one point, when we were discussing our, the water, the whole program, he said that actually he thought that the Lofer Canyon well, he felt like they just didn't go deep enough. They broke the bit broke off there. If that one could produce like 1,000 gallons a minute, boy, it would sure be a lot better pumping down to the tanks than all of that back pressure pumping clear up to the tanks.
Yeah.
And there actually is that, there's that power line that runs straight across there. I don't know. I don't think it would be
It's a
real
different
complicated to put 3-phase up there, would it?
It wouldn't be complicated, it would just be really
Expensive.
expensive. I will tell you, today I checked to see what the status was on that power line that I had mentioned previously. And a lot of that's dependent upon a individual who's getting ready to develop down in the canyon, whether or not they develop in Woodland Hills or they develop in Elk Ridge and so on. But I told him, I said, if there's any movement there at all, let me know. Because that does, then you're only running it effectively from the association gate up to where our well is, as opposed to miles of wire and paying the full cost and waiting to be reimbursed when that's developed. down the road.
Yeah,
The,
So,
how deep is that well up in Loafer Canyon? Do we know?
What runs my mind is 700.
that's, I was thinking 600 to 700.
Roughly 600 to 700, but it's kind of interesting, I haven't been able to find a whole lot of information as far as that goes on that.
We
So,
could,
it's
we
kind
could
of all
actually,
word of mouth.
we could probably go to the state because we
Yeah.
have to file all the paperwork, and we probably should have something someplace, but it's a matter of locating that here.
I'm sure we do, I just haven't seen,
I've always been under the impression 600 to 700 feet.
and that's what sticks in my mind, is somewhere in there, but,
And we have an 8-inch well
8 inch
there.
in there?
yeah. So, and from my understanding is with that well also is that when it was being drilled, they went down and hit an alluvial vein, which basically cracked in the surface layer, and then that's what caused the drill bit to break. So it's basically an underwater river running through there past that pond. And so there's not like typically where you'll have a bit of a, like cavern, I guess you could say, in the aquifer. It's a little bit of a different situation, so I'm not sure.
Well, it's certainly something we need to, before we make any decisions, final decisions, we need to review and say, okay, why is that position 2 and this is position 1, position 3, what are the negatives and the positive? We'll be talking with Craig here shortly to get some more information, to get a little more of a feel for this one.
Okay.
One of the things I think that has to happen, though, is that we can't sit back and not do something. Something has to happen. Interestingly enough, speaking with a former mayor of Genola, they have one well. That's it. But in 1931, they made an agreement with Santaquin that they would tie into their system and that they would pump on a regular basis into Genola 100 gallons per minute. And when they had a well that went down, and they were out 6 weeks. And all you have to do is just kind of stand up. Anyway,
Oh, it's a motion.
we've been in the dark for a long time.
That's what-
And when that happened, then Santaquin pumped additional, but they were still very, very tight in their situation to try and get through for 6 weeks. Now, I don't know what the timing in the year was. We couldn't have picked a much worse time, except this past week, perhaps, as far as the water is concerned. The fact that we have been working on this for some time, we have got to continue until we have a solid plan, and that is a third well. Without question, we have to have one more redundancy in a well setting. We need to consider either upgrading and upsizing one of our tanks or putting in another tank. We still need to talk and have discussions with Payson and see what kind of options could possibly exist with tying in with their well. I think we just have to look at all the options that are out there, weigh them out, but I don't think we want to wait very much longer. We need to move on this, make some smart decisions. I think we've been making smart decisions. The timing of this well failure had nothing to do with anything we were trying to do. It just, if anything, it kind of slapped the horse on the butt, and we got to get going now a little bit more.
One thought to entertain with this as well, when we're talking about options, obviously the option of having another pump and another motor readily, purchase those ahead of time so we can cut the turnaround time down. Basically, from what I've gathered with Whittison's, we got lucky on this pump. We should have been out 5 to 10 weeks. Could have been,
Yes.
been out. We got lucky that somebody in California had this sitting on the shelf. My suggestion would be we purchase duplicates of both pump and motor and have them staged and ready to go in case this happens again. I feel Whittison's would probably accommodate, could get us done, put back in the hole in 3 or 4 days, like they did on this one. Had we, if we had everything ready.
Yeah.
We're looking at roughly, you're looking about $17,000 for the pump and roughly $30,000 for the new motor,
How much for the pump?
about 17,000.
So we're looking at roughly $50,000.
So, and then of course you'll have your 10-inch casing as well as your 3-inch.
Yes.
And your connecting rod and everything, that's roughly another 20,000. You know, but obviously when you purchase that and have it on site, that's, from what I understand, is pretty well readily available,
Yeah.
stocked with.
Have you talked with Whittison's about the rebuild on that pump?
I have, talked
And?
to them today. Unfortunately, it's irreparable.
Okay,
When the bearings went out, the turbines inside scarred up the loops to where it would be more cost effective just to purchase a whole new pump.
yeah, if we can't get one that's equal to a new, we don't want to.
Yeah,
And another motor, if we do this other well, it's always been the concept that we duplicate basically what's in Cloward. So that whichever pump goes out, if it goes out, or we go down just to repair, we want to rebuild in 10 years to save it. We've got that spare motor that will fit either well, pump will fit either well.
That's smart. That's something we could do better.
That's got to just
Like
fit into a budget, though.
that would be the nice way to do it. Now, if we only pull 1,000 gallons a minute, 700 to 900 gallons a minute out of the Skyhawk well, the 350 horsepower motor will be probably too big to interchange. You know,
Will
what I
it?
mean? To go back and forth. We'll probably end up going with something a little smaller. But then I don't know for sure, you know.
That's a question we need to ask.
It would be a question we need to ask, to make sure, if we put a 350 horsepower motor, same as the power well, we may run into issues. We may not be able to slow it down enough to where we don't
Yeah.
strip the well.
Okay.
So,
Well, then you just design like the local
yeah, you
canyon,
could, yeah. As long
which
as,
is a lower producer.
yeah.
And have you talked to anybody about a submersible on
No.
the new well?
No, I haven't ran it. I don't know if we get if you'll be able to.
It doesn't
pump in
sound-
the discharge.
Yeah, I don't
head
think it,
pressure on that.
I don't think it'll work
I don't think it will
from what
either.
I've understood, but
I think it'll,
see, that's what we've got in Loafer,
yeah.
but we're not pulling out that much water by
Right.
comparison.
Well, we don't have the head pressure like we do.
And even though the well is 600-700 feet deep, what's the depth on our pump?
Roughly 3.
That's what I thought, it was 350.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
So we're not
I
lifting.
can invoice on that, I can give you the
Okay.
exact on that, but.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll keep this, it'll be on every agenda for the next little while until we have a decision made, and we'll get it fit here somehow. Review of city celebration. Trish,
Hey,
You need to clap for those three right there. That's who did
yeah, they
that.
were
they
great.
were,
That's who
looking
came
great.
to rescue me.
they were good support, weren't they?
They did most of it.
Well, the thing that is important to know is that you can count on our staff.
Yeah.
And not only just for physical help, but because they understand the workings and such, so, very good. Dale?
Two things, just an atta-girl for Trish, that was dynamite. You were great in all of that dance-off and then MC and then getting everything done. You were super out there. And the thing that I noticed, and maybe it's just my mindset, but to me, it seemed like there was a lot more involvement. I think that McKay should have an attaboy also, along with the city staff. But that's a nice thing about having the public works director living in the city, and he was here, through the whole day, where usually before, they might come and set up a little in the morning, but they're gone. But all of the city staff were amazing there, through the
Well,
whole.
you also collected a lot of other volunteers that helped you.
We did, but they carried the brunt of it,
Yeah.
which I think that's something that we need to work on,
Oh, I do too.
because that wasn't, I just felt bad. It was, if it weren't for them, I mean, there's no way, like,
Yeah. So what I would recommend that we do is that we take a breath for a couple of weeks or a month, and then we come back and we revisit, and we get the perspective of the staff, we get your perspective, we pull together, maybe even see what the public thinks. I'll throw something in our newsletter and say, you know,
well, I
what
was
would
gonna
you...
see if Nelson would post on Facebook, like, what, if you didn't
Yeah.
come, why? You know, and what did you think? Are
What
there
would entice you to come?
improvements, or what did you really like
Those
about
kinds
it?
of things. If we can start collecting this and start looking ahead, again, to the end, towards the end of the year, to start making our new arrangements.
And I'm getting fired from it, right?
I can't
You
hear you.
cannot,
What
you
did you
cannot
say?
resign.
Fired.
There is no way to resign even.
No, well,
You are the one, you are the woman.
you know, the thing that is,
Some people that can't walk or do parking legal in the walkways.
yeah,
Which part, well, it said handicap access, if anyone needed to, they could have.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I put on the rope, I should have made it, I'll make it bigger.
Yeah. That, you know, it's just those little things, just little things that make the difference. Dale?
One other comment is that what I observed in previous years, everybody has been there from that 9 o'clock to maybe 12 o'clock, but it was winding down by 12 or 1. There were still a ton of kids playing all the games and stuff at 3 o'clock when I came down to help tear down. And Nelson also did a great job. He dunk master there.
Did
so.
very well.
But that reflects that there were a lot of people enjoying, you know, all of those games, I think.
I think your food trucks were a good hit. The mayor's dinner went over very well.
Yeah.
For the most part, we got to find out what we can do to get the fireman's breakfast back up a little bit,
Well,
a lot of bit.
I'm thinking, and I told Royce this today, but I'm thinking maybe next year we have fireman breakfast and then maybe have the firemen also do the carnival. Like, Tori and I can set up all the games for you. We'll put them together. If you can help us find volunteers to run it, like you send out the sign up genius or the fire, you know what I mean? Then all the proceeds, you will make those as well. Does that make sense? So everything would be ticketed and it would all go to you guys.
And I'll run that past.
Yeah, I was gonna have you talk to
The
them
other
and find out,
people.
because we wanna incorporate a lot more water games next year. We wanna have like 10 water games. We want you guys to come out with the hose and spray the kids.
Oh,
and
we'd love to do
Have
that.
it be more fire, you know what I mean? And then have all the proceeds go
Yeah.
to you, and then that will help with what you didn't get from the breakfast. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I mean, every once in a while, you've seen the firemen's race. They dress up a civilian in fire clothes, and they have races back and forth.
Well,
Those
maybe
kinds of
thinking we
things.
could have a truck and maybe let the kids for one ticket tour the truck or try on a fireman outfit or whatever. We could do
Yeah.
more.
Or we could have a hose contest, 2 hoses, to see who they could knock the other person over. Never mind. Dale, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
like that. Actually,
That's true, something like that, like have. and
that's
then-
our water park. 2 other things that were really positive there, I thought. One is that we had bought all of our own setup tarps. That will be excellent for next year. Plus, that sound system, having our own sound system, and that worked well, I thought. It projected well.
It did.
And that makes a huge difference, controlling that, not having to hope that somebody will come set up something. All of that helped to make that go smooth.
Okay, we'll get back to that,
Very
and
nice.
we'll have a,
One negative is the parade was way down. I don't know if it was Marcel.
yeah, Marcy was trying to figure that out too, so. There's, yeah, we've always had a lot of participation in the past, lots more than this time, but
Last time people were going, oh,
Let's see.
we'll have to,
Two of our,
it seems like there were less businesses, which usually will throw things out.
Maybe this is the time.
but I also think we had the 6th ward was at girls' camp, and they're big supporters of that, and the 4th ward had youth conference.
Oh, they,
So 2 of our wards that usually are really big, you know what I mean?
We've had them all now.
yeah.
Well, the girls, but not, yeah,
Yeah, anyway,
I know, you're right.
Something was not.
Well, the demographics are somewhat shifting.
Yeah.
You have the older part of town where the kids are now more grown up and they're in high school and so
where
forth.
Jim lives.
Where I live.
I don't know, there's a lot of kids coming from downtown.
But
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to ask.
So we
What-
need to,
What can we do to get more of the older demographic there too? What, like, I
One-
want you to be thinking,
yeah.
what else can we, what?
One
can we
year,
do?
2 or 3 years ago, we did a military theme, and we had a veterans float and that sort of a thing, so. There's a lot of things, that's where we just need we need 2 or 3 hours,
Yeah,
not 2 or 3 hours. We need an hour to sit down and brainstorm, then another hour to brainstorm what we, and just bring it all together. So, anyway, good discussion, last comment, we'll go.
This may be an appropriate place to bring this up. You and I discussed it just briefly, but would like to see the pavilion constructed and the parking lot down below in the next year and a half. And we need to, I was discussing it with Royce today, we need to get that in specifically designated, or maybe it's okay to have it just in that broad development phase of capital facilities. But that may be something, if we had a pavilion and the parking down there, we may look at shifting the celebration to that end of town next year and see how that works.
I think it's an option that we need to look at.
yeah, unless we stick with the fire thing and we need access to, but maybe 1 or 2 events are down there.
I think you could do both.
Because you had said that before, you
Yep.
said maybe we should do the movie down there, whatever, so I'm thinking maybe we can,
yeah.
Yeah.
but when they open up that housing just right here, that would probably, if we're right by it, because I'll tell you what, we had a big turnout from down where I live, a huge turnout.
Good.
So they came up, but
Good.
it was probably geared to little kids too much, maybe, I don't know.
Well, yes and no. The kids had a great time. The little kids had a great time, and it's a city celebration. We just need to focus on making it, again, citywide in every aspect that we can. Next, truth and taxation hearing discussion. We don't have much time to put together the final ideas for that truth and taxation hearing. We know that Ty's was going to try and prepare some things for us for the next city council meeting. I think what I'd like to do is try and limit the other things that we have on that city council meeting on the 12th of July, and allow for extra time to, again, consider budget considerations for that truth and taxation hearing. Have a presentation that Ty can at least give us somewhat of a feel for. We can add in the questions that we have, the comments that we have. Right now, it's going to be a real tough sell because of what we have to do with water. It's going to be really tough, and so we're going to have to take a close look at everything that's on that want list, wish list, have to have list, and be real careful. But we still need to have that discussion. The public still needs to understand, here's what's going on, and how we can't get to here with our current funding. At least not within the foreseeable future. It's going to take some time. I had someone come to me. There was a representative that came to me on that property where I'd like to do the economic development, and I got the word that they wanted to meet with me, so I set up an appointment, and the word was, tell the mayor when he sees this, he's going to like it. I didn't. Not even close. Not even close. So, there's no consideration whatsoever in that proposal for any economic development. And
Oh, there
they-
wasn't?
No,
Oh.
nothing. And I wasn't too, I was very blunt, and I said, no, I don't know where the council will go with it because I don't have the vote. They do, so we'll just have to see. Right now, they didn't even know it had needed to be annexed. They'd done a lot of other research to kind of back me into a corner, so to speak, but they didn't even know that. So we'll see what happens. So, any other specific that you want to mention about that discussion for truth and taxation?
I know in our last council meeting, we talked about scheduling another meeting between this next council meeting and when we actually have the truth and taxation
Right,
hearing to kind of go through things.
And that's why I wanted to make this next city council meeting an extended visit of
So is that
that.
plan to just consolidate it into that
Pretty
meeting?
much, I
Okay.
think so. I think
All right.
we got so many other things going on, I think that will be our best bet.
Okay.
We'll try and, or I don't know, can we get Curtis to be at that meeting by chance on the? It's hard to know, it's the 12th of July. So we're going to try and limit whatever else is going to be on the agenda, and we'll try and focus mostly on that. Okay, city scholarship discussion, it's been kind of tabled for a while. There's no, any other thoughts on it?
Well,
Do we want to do something or not? When
Brittany
we
was
did-
going to follow up with
with
the school
Nebo,
district,
and it
I-
was basically said, well, you do what you want to do. There was nothing from Nebo School District. It was not at all what it was portrayed to be. So, I was hoping that that would just be a nice channel that we could funnel some ideas through, but it isn't looking real good. So, without the other two council here, let's just move ahead. It is now 6:30, 6:15. We've got
6:40.
6:40, stupid clock. We're 20 minutes early for city council meeting.
I already voted.
Any discussion from, any points that you want to bring up, Royce?
You want to talk about the islands?
Yes, would you do that? And
Do you want to go vote?
well, if we get going here, I might make it anyway. Yes, thanks, Royce, I forgot. This is late, last
Royce voted
minute.
twice, he got 2 stickers.
Paul didn't vote, so
I didn't realize you were a Democrat, Royce.
What?
Okay, do you want to explain it? You've had a chance to discuss where this is going to, coming from, et cetera.
This is an option to landscape the islands that go down by the roundabout. And what the proposal is, this is by Dean's Landscaper. He's willing to help out, and as an option, it's only an option, to landscape it at this cost. And through the phase of the development, he has to pay for installments. So this would be line a payment. If we want to, instead of us budgeting for the landscaper, those items, that he would get a landscape, and this would be
One of those 4 payments.
What are those 4 payments for? Is that for the park space that he's not putting in, or, what-
Yeah.
I mean, what is,
Yes. They're like $26,000 a payment. Now with this, one of the concepts is, even in the discussion, was to pull out the trees, because we can possibly do that next year with the tree grant, and then just kind of define where the trees need to go. So you see the trees are a big expenditure to this.
Yeah, 8,000.
I'd rather see the trees than the rock, but
Wait, is he only willing to do it if we use his landscaper, or
Well, it's because he has his arrangement with his landscaper, he'll go ahead and pay his landscaper.
No, yeah, I get that,
But-
but I'm wondering like.
Could we get another bid
Yeah,
or
what if we
someone
got
else?
2 other quotes and they came back like, I'm just asking. I'm
Yeah,
not saying
yeah.
he's being dishonest, I'm just saying like, what if we got 2 other bids and they come back 10,000 less? Is this negotiable, or we
Again,
don't know?
all I'm doing is throwing this out.
No, I know, I'm asking that like, because I like the idea of Dean paying for it and doing that, I think that's
It
great.
has not been driven by staff or anything, it's
No.
just one of those concepts that came up. That's
Sure.
Okay, present it, it's just a way to get them done versus budgeting, you know,
Oh,
that
yeah.
we can.
Yeah, and
You know,
I have,
275 for the trees, I don't think some of these numbers as far as like plants.
Are pretty-
They're pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And Dale, who's done some research, maybe he can give us some
That's
guidance
true.
on that.
I just wondered if that was the condition that Dean is, I guess we'd have to ask him.
I would have to ask Dean,
Okay.
but my guess is this is the landscaper he uses all the time.
Yeah.
And he's a very good landscaper. I've seen some of the things that he's done, had a good discussion with him. That doesn't mean there aren't other good ones out there.
Yeah.
But Dale, Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually am, it would be nice to have somebody who's go in and do it, I think, would be a lot, would be the best of both worlds there. We did have, I'd like to see us in those, you've got pretty long stretches of those that little thin section, that originally was just gonna be stamped concrete in there, instead of grasses and stuff, and it seems like that would be a lot less maintenance, those little 1 foot wide, strips, even to keep grasses alive in there,
Is this
the
the-
drip system.
The bid where the thing goes like this, or,
It would be there's going to be some areas where it's only about this wide. And what they would put in that area, I don't know. I mean, you could probably.
They've got a lot of
probably-
grasses. He's got grasses, and I had figured, 75, but
And I'm sure this can be tweaked a little bit.
okay, that's what I wondered.
1
is
gallon
this-
grasses.
But didn't we talk about not
And then
wanting?
also, like plan B to this would be concern with pulling the tree out, using it for the grants, that he goes ahead and does this.
I don't know
And
that
he used
we'll,
to kind of swap the trees, where, he has to do that side of the road. And so he goes ahead and finishes, they're done, and then when we do the grant, we do the trees down the one
it is
side,
good
so it's
having
kinda
one
swapped.
person doing everything.
And he'll just kind of turn
That way,
around.
we're not digging up to get the rock in there, we're not digging it up to get a tree in there, and
Yeah.
and the drip system, we mess that up, and just, they're done, and then when we do the grant, we just go down this, we give him the trees for that side.
And
It'd be good to double check that. Some of those, I don't know if that 9400, I was just doing the 3 major areas there on weed block. Actually, I don't have that with me, but I had priced out the weed blocks, a 12-foot wide weed block, like the tree stakes, 54 at 20, is that $25 each?
Yeah.
See that, they were $250 each when we, for the tree stakes that we
That's
have
what,
down
that's what I
here.
was saying, like, does this seem high to you? But listen, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Mine was, I was just roughing it out with just the trees. The trees were around, this is not a bad price for the trees, that $79.65. I was around that 6,000-7,000. The rock to get, you could get either the 3 and 4 inch rock, or you could get that 5/6, the bigger rock from Nephi, sand and gravel, and that was that rock, decorative rock, and he may have different colored rock than that was just cobble rock, but it was around 7,000. But that was just doing the big areas, the weed guard. It'd be worth measuring it out and just seeing how.
But then that's just for the rock. Now we've got to go back to our guys to install.
Yeah,
And the time
Oh,
frame.
yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that is, so these are all installed.
This is
figures.
totally,
Done, and
totally done. And right now, our guys are not gonna have time to do anything this summer, even into the late fall, maybe. That would be the soonest.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. Actually, Dean doesn't have to do his until phase 10.
What I think would really be valuable for us to do is bring Dean and his landscaper into a meeting and make that decision at that point. Then we can ask some more questions.
See what he's doing.
You now have a little bit of an estimate to start with. On your own, you could do a little more research, but at least here's a way to begin. So.
This is just trying to think outside the box, because we don't have it in next year's budget. Complete those.
I like it.
So who's gonna landscape the roundabout?
This is the
Is
one.
that,
That's
no,
the-
this is the
No, this is just the
roundabout.
island. That's
Wait,
not,
this is the roundabout too?
No,
no. The-
Dean does.
Yes.
he's gonna be doing that. Okay, I just,
That's his,
I wondered at what point in time.
It'd be good to have some input on it.
We don't have to pay for the roundabout landscaping at all?
We shouldn't, that's why I was
No.
asking.
That's phenomenal.
We
One
have,
quick thought about that. I had a scout come to me and wanted to know, could he, for an Eagle project, put a flag in the middle of it? He likes the Woodland Hills look, and I just thought, I don't know what your feeling as a council would be. I don't know what, I mean, there's electricity in there for lighting, wouldn't there be if we
Yeah,
chose to
sure
do
they
that?
have.
yeah, and I had to run an extra conduit in there just in case
Okay.
too.
So-
We would have,
I think it'd be fun to have the American flag, the Utah flag, and get a nice new flag, new design for Elk Ridge. Have our own city flag, be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, just something to consider, okay?
Okay.
We will now close our work session,
We got 10 minutes.
and we've got 10 minutes. I'll go vote, because we really can't
You're gonna get
technically
in
start.
trouble if you don't vote.
Yeah, well, I think we've got a couple people coming for the public.
this
Don't
is,
worry, they're not mad.
Well, I need to talk about that blank.
Pause, Melanie.
You driven it yet?